This is the Living in Bakersfield channel, and I know that a lot of you are thinking about actually moving to Bakersfield, but I also know that there's a lot of Californians that are bugging out and going to other states. So I am going to introduce you to a colleague of mine who is in the Augusta, Georgia area. She's going to explain it all to you. We're going to talk about why you need to move there, what it could potentially look like for you and your family, and how it all ties in with leaving California and moving to Georgia. Let me introduce you to Kimberly Lahodny. Yay! The beautiful thing about our chat before we went on record was that I found out that you are a previous Californian. Ta-da! Tell us more about that.
So I moved out to California to go to grad school at Pepperdine in Malibu.
Yay.
And I met my husband in LA, and he was in Orange County at the Anaheim Chamber. And I ended up being out in California for 7 years in the entertainment industry. And then when we moved up to Sacramento, when my husband went to the state chamber, I got my real estate license. But I'm from a family that has done a lot of real estate development in the DC area. And so I was encouraged by a colleague do it because I knew so much and they couldn't understand why I knew so much about real estate. But it was the family business. Yeah, I couldn't get away from it. And I do love it. I love it a lot. And I initially was on a team that did luxury REO properties. So that was eye-opening.
And this is in California or where you're at now?
That was in Sacramento. I put in my time calling people back, but I also saw what it looked like to have foreclosed properties that were on the luxury level, and then what we needed to do to get them safe, sound, and secure and relatively beautiful so that they would sell at the same level. I did most of my work in El Dorado Hills and Roseville and Folsom and Lincoln and Rockland, that whole area. So Placer County all the way to Tahoe and back. I went out on my own in 2020, in 2019. We found out that we were being recruited to the Augusta area for my husband's job. I think we moved July of 2020. So we were right in the middle of the pandemic, and it was crazy. And I had some great house sales as I was leaving, including my own.
As a former Californian moving to Georgia, just Georgia, the state, let's not narrow it down to where you're at specifically. What was in your mind versus what you now know? Like, what did you think? Oh, it's going to be, and now it's.
Well, when my husband started getting recruited, my husband is an incredible golfer. So he looked at me and said, Augusta, how can we say no?
With stars in his eyes.
He was born in California and has been a Californian his whole life. I was surprised he wanted to make the move. For me, I was born in DC and I grew up in the Potomac area. So I was excited to move back to the East Coast for the trees and the weather, and everybody made jokes about, oh, you're going back to the humidity. But I was used to it. DC is not, summers in DC are sweaty. There are things I miss about California, but I really love the tree cover. I love the rolling hills and the things that when you're just outside Sacramento in Roseville, everything's flat until you get up towards the foothills. I enjoyed that. That's what I thought was going to happen. And we did end up moving to an area where it was very beautiful. And we were able to purchase a house that if we had purchased in California, we would have well been into the millions. And we did not purchase it for even close to that.
So I'm sure that since 2020 happened and then you relocated, even here we are in 2024 now, your equity has probably just skyrocketed. Am I right?
It is. It definitely has.
When you were talking about like your husband having stars in his eyes about moving to, the Augusta area, it's predominantly a golf, or I think you use the term golf adjacent community, like everything kind of in and around involves golf.
Everything about our schedule, our school schedule, everything is around the Masters. I mean, it really is dominated by that. People purchase homes based on what they can get as a Masters rental, and we can talk about that in a minute. Surprisingly, there isn't as much golf out here as there should be in this town.
They leave it all for the Masters.
Yes, if you're thinking about starting a golf course, we need more. We have some gorgeous golf courses, but we don't have very many if you think about what's here in the history of the sport. We certainly have other things. We have a kayaking community here that is nationally and internationally known. We have something called the Serene 18, and it's along the Savannah River. So we have some other things going on here. And Frisbee golf, that's something that I didn't know. We have a huge national tournament of Frisbee golf.
But do you have pickleball? Because that is also the sport that is sweeping the nation.
So we do. In fact, I'm a little, so I do commercial and I do residential real estate. We joke because there is a prime spot for a Whole Foods and somebody has put a private pickleball court. Well, it's not private, it's open to the public, but it's a high-end pickleball court indoor in that space. So I don't know if it's the best use of the space, but we have it. We've got it wherever they can stick it.
I love that sport is such a connector of people, which is, it's a joiner just like golf is, but like, man, oh man, they're fanatics. So you mentioned Whole Foods. So being an ex-Californian, even if it was just for, a handful or so years, you do know our love of Trader Joe's here and Whole Foods. You don't have Whole Foods because you have the pickleball court.
No, we used to have Whole Foods.
They left?
Someone did not know how to place Whole Foods correctly, and so they lost a lot of money. They were in the wrong place. Actually, where I live is where they should have put the Whole Foods, but they put it in a demographic that wouldn't normally go. So they did not make any money. If you are someone who is not just moving here, but also moving your business here, please call me, because people here who do commercial real estate have not lived anywhere else. There have been some commercial real estate fumbles in the past couple of years. Trader Joe's is not here either. We only have a Trader Joe's in Columbia, South Carolina. It was one of the first things that people asked my husband to help us get. And we are in the process of trying to get them to consider us. They need a certain demographic. They need a certain population count with a certain demographic. And believe it or not, though it is bougie, it actually requires a lower demographic, but a higher population count and a traffic number that is interesting. I think we're reaching it now, but we weren't reaching it before.
So if anybody out there is in the Trader Joe's upper echelon of decision making, we need to get a hold of
us because we've been bothering you.
Tell me this, what is your average gas price? Like going to the gas station, what are you guys paying for gas right now? Early 2024.
I'm in the area that should be pricey, right? But our gas prices are around, I think as of today, they're around $2.79.
And every Californian just went, no way.
I mean, I was in another part of town and it was $2.99 and I was fine with it. My husband was like, no, it's cheaper over by us. And I said, how is it cheaper by us? Like, I would think this area would be cheaper. And he was like, no, it's cheaper by us. It is cheaper. That was actually immediate satisfaction when we moved here. We left and it was almost 4.
It's still 4. We're pushing 5. Yeah, I've seen 6 over the holiday break. I was like, what?
I mean, I had forgotten that you could fill your tank up for $27. I mean,
you're just rubbing it in now, Kimberly.
I say that to say it was immediate. There's some things that are delayed satisfaction. Gas prices were immediate. It was wonderful.
Do you guys have Costco there? You guys have Costco. Okay.
We definitely have Costco. We have something called Fresh Market, which is a very bougie, fancy, gourmet shopping center.
But is it comparable to Whole Foods and they have gas or what?
It is. I would say it has more European titles, like things that you would find if you have a Balducci's or a Wagmans, or it's very nice. And you can get healthier things, but overall, I think one of the negatives of moving to the South is that the healthy options are not as plentiful as in California.
Let me explore that because, we are in gluten-free territory. Everything's gluten-free and no caseins and all of the special things that we want out of our food. And it doesn't rock anybody's world when you walk in and ask for those kinds of options in California. But when you go to another state like Georgia, what happened?
Yeah, nothing like that. I happen to be gluten-free medically for over 20 years, and it is very disappointing to work very hard to be healthy here. Very hard.
Now, let me ask you this, because California, generally, we have a lot of sun, obviously, but here in Bakersfield, we have upwards of we're pretty close to 300 days of sun year round. So there's a ton of outdoor activities and sports and, running communities and biking. And we talked about pickleball and there's just a lot of outdoor. Is that the same, even though, because they go part and parcel, right? When you've got an active lifestyle, you tend to be more mindful of what you eat and that. Is that the same thing where you are? Is that an outdoor community?
I would say that we definitely have an outdoor community and there are lots and lots of people that get outdoors, but we are in the deep South. So, there's just no getting away from unhealthy food.
Okay.
And I would say calling all healthy food. If there was one thing that our area needs. It's more healthy options, and everybody wants it. So if you are in that industry, please call me like immediately.
If somebody's business minded and wants to start their new thing when they move,
we need a juice bar. We need so many things. Just call me. Just call me. We don't have a Jamba Juice. We need a Jamba Juice.
You're just rocking our world over here. I'm in, Kern County. We're Ag Central. The juice that goes into Jamba juices comes from the Central Valley here in Bakersfield, Tulare, Visalia. It's all my backyard. So when I hear that there's not any kind of juice store there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can give you my tree out back, like for crying out loud.
Well, we have Smoothie King, but I don't equate them to be the same. Okay. And I will tell you a deceptive thing about here is that this part of Georgia, we would have the same kind of fruit tree growth and things like that. Now, blueberries do very well here, apple trees, a couple of things, peaches, obviously. We do not have the kind of ag life that California enjoys. That was relatively disappointing. I put a lot of fruit trees in my backyard and they have yet to produce fruit. We do have pomegranates. And there are different things that do well here, but it's just not, having come from a place where I had unbelievable fruit trees in my backyard and produce. We really don't have that here, though your lettuces grow very well even in the winter here. That is something to be noted.
Now, let's talk about what it actually is like where you are, because we keep saying where you are. I have a Google map pulled up. For all of those that are watching, wherever you are, this is not Martinez. So this is called Martinez. You do not butcher it by calling it Martinez. Side story, my mom moved to Prescott, Arizona, and it's along the same lines of, it looks like you say Prescott, but you don't say Prescott, you say Prescott. If you say Prescott, they automatically know you're from out of the area. Same thing with this is what you said in one of your videos, is that this is not Martinez. That's a big target on your back. You're not from this area if you say Martinez, right?
Right. It's kind of like when you move to LA and you say Sepulveda instead of Sepulveda. So it's that same thing. You're outing yourself. You are not a local.
You were talking about the downtown Augusta area and Augusta itself, but then also like right across this is the Savannah River. So right across this river is South Carolina, and that's still called North Augusta. Help me understand.
North Augusta is absolutely beautiful, and it has its own life because it's in South Carolina. It says yes to all the things that we don't necessarily want in Georgia yet. They have the minor league baseball team. They have all the things. Like anytime we say, oh, we don't know if we want that, North Augusta raises its hand. It's got some fabulous restaurants. Very enjoyable over there.
Okay.
Not that Augusta is not enjoyable. It just is. It's very nice in North Augusta. And that's part of Aiken County. Aiken County has a great school district, and Aiken is known for incredible horse country, kind of like parts of Kentucky, like very gorgeous, multi-million-dollar horse farms.
Very equine friendly, 100%. Yes. We have a lot of horse property here, farms, same. We have a lot of people that do it as a passion and a hobby, and very, very common here as well. So somebody that was a horse owner in Bakersfield specifically, and or horse property owner here in Bakersfield would move there, it would be an easy transition then, because they would be able to find that there.
Yes, absolutely. They are multi-million-dollar investments most of the time, but they are stunning.
Well, and you've got some, I mean, I'm in Bakersfield, but like, I don't know where anybody could be watching this. They could be in Santa Barbara, where some of those pretty properties are, or, down in San Diego. There's a lot of people that could watch this video that have horse property to sell that would like, okay, well,
they're in that industry. They know Aiken. I mean, it's definitely English riding. It's not, there are places you can do Western riding here, but it's not as common. And we have polo clubs, like old school polo clubs. And I believe there are places you can still go fox hunting on horseback.
Was this your vernacular? Like, did you talk about these kinds of things before you moved there? Like, I don't know your lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, was it just so like, what do? You guys have Cotillion and you guys do fox hunting? Like, was that just like a really hard transition from California to Georgia, or was that something that you were familiar with? Because from somebody on the outside looking in, I'd be like, how do I even know how to have a conversation about a fox hunt?
It's not foreign to me because I'm from DC originally, and Potomac actually was all horse farm, and the reason why they have an overpopulation of foxes is that they were bred to go fox hunting. So I grew up understanding that world a little bit. Social and Cotillion, I had some familiarity with that because my mom's from Chicago, and there's a part of Chicago that's very into that. I think the stuff that I was thrown by is that there is a Southern way of life, and we know about it, but when you live here and you see it exercised in relationships and in social circles on a daily basis, it's very real. There's a deep pride of this area and families that developed this area. And if you don't respect that, it's going to be a little bit hard to fit in.
Is that still something that is, even with all of the influx of people from California and Illinois and New York and some of the other states that are moving there, is your area of the Augusta, North Augusta, and like Evans, Georgia, is that area still able to maintain Southern pride, like the bones of it, like you're talking about, even with all the newcomers?
Yes, I think there's a bit of a what's going to happen when all these people come, and that is happening already.
Let me hear about that. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, we've had an explosion in certain areas more than most. Obviously, our whole area has exploded with more people. So, I mean, there is a fear always that newcomers are going to vote differently, want different things. That there's always a fear. I think that's overwhelmingly how smaller town America feels about the influx that we've seen during COVID. That is typical here as well.
When Californians move there, I can only speak from my state, right? So when Californians move there, we need to not be like, I'm from California, because you're not in California anymore. It's like you've gotten into a new relationship and you're still talking about how great your ex was. Like, it just doesn't make sense when I hear that. Like, you're in a new state, acclimate. If they don't have 17 different trash cans, it's okay, because we've got one for green trash and brown trash and regular trash and compostable, like, but we've been trained by that in California. Not every state has that. So is that what you're talking about?
A little bit. I mean, we do have some things. I would say Columbia County itself is pretty progressive in regards to recycling and stuff like that. So you do not need to sort your recycling, because they do actually sort your recycling for you. They did that also in Placer County, which was nice. You do have a green trash can if you want it. If you do but we have a lot of landscapers here. People like to landscape. We are in the land of a lot of personal home pride. Most people have a landscaper. I mean, I know that sounds surprising. A lot of people have landscapers. It sounds very bougie when I say that, but it's not at all uncommon here.
It's a great business. If you're a landscaper, if you how many of them do we have here in California? We've got sprinklers and water days and all of that. Like, we can't keep up. Like, let my gardener do it. Come on now.
That's what I was going to say. If you are struggling in California and want a thriving landscape business, come on down.
It sounds very entrepreneurial there. Like, you're telling us we got to open a Trader Joe's, we got to open Whole Foods, we got to bring our landscaping business, we got to bring healthy food. We got all these job opportunities to create, right?
So the positive absolutely is that Georgia was named #1 best state to start a business. It's had that title for many, many years. It is getting harder to start a business everywhere, but Georgia is still, very entrepreneurial. And it is fun. It's fun to start a business. I would encourage you to start your business here. It's hard. I'm the wife of a chamber executive, so of course I'm going to be pro-business.
Well, I'm a little bit older than you. So my Generation X, we're kind of at this point in our lives where if we haven't had a business, we're now like, if not now, when? Let's go. Somebody that could be watching this that is of my demographic that is ready to go, let's go. Let's see. What have we got to lose? We're on the backside of, I don't think I'm going to live another 53 years. If I do, praise the Lord. But if I'm going to do it, I can't be, marinating in it. And I'm not the only one that feels this way. I have several friends that would love to leave. They've got family and friends here and potential grandkids on the way. And so, like, airports and healthcare, and how would that work? And what would it be like to live in Georgia and in your area? You've got family here. Tell me how that works.
So
planes go back and forth, right?
Well, I'll tell you, that actually is a huge bonus of living in the CSRA. So you asked me before we came on, what is the CSRA? It's the Central Savannah River area.
Central Savannah River area. So people just say the CSRA area. Okay.
And that is all of it is Augusta, Martinez, Evans, Appling, Harlem, Grovetown, North Augusta, Aiken, Graniteville,
Woo.
Modoc, all of it.
Okay.
Hepzibah, that's all the CSRA. We have, I believe, 5 hospitals here. We have unbelievable health care here and more doctors than you could ever imagine. More doctors and dentists. We have a school of dentistry and we have a medical school here and we have Children's Hospital of Georgia here. So people are medevaced here. We have Doctors Hospital, which is the best hospital for burns in the country. So we have people flown in for fire-related and chemical-related burns.
There's a lot of healthcare there. That's fantastic. And you also mentioned before we went live and started going on this, you mentioned military bases, or should we say military bases?
Well, we have everything here. Formerly Fort Gordon, now Fort Eisenhower, got renamed last month. I had the privilege of being at the renaming. It was an incredible experience. Very emotional, as it turns out. Eisenhower spent a lot of time here.
That would be an interesting conversation. I don't know if this is the time to share it, but like, why would it be changed?
Well, it was changed out of respect for the history of race and race conflict in this country, around the Civil War and other things. So I can't get into the full history of it right now, but it was changed to show that times have changed, and it was very apropos to change it to Fort Eisenhower because Eisenhower spent quite a lot of time at this military installment. Considered it a bit of a vacation to come down here, play golf at Augusta National and hang out at what was Fort Gordon. So it was a beautiful ceremony, and I think his 2 daughters came down and spoke, and many famous people in our government came down, and it was a lovely event. So we have that here, but why is that important? Well, Fort Eisenhower, right before we moved here, was named Cyber Center for the entire United States Armed Forces. So Cyber Center means that everything in regards to cyber warfare happens here and is trained out of here. And so that brings all of the extra military contractors and things here. That brings all of our maybe more, I don't want to say clandestine, but our NSA, our CIA, our
the stuff we're paying for that we don't need to know what they do. We just know they do it.
FBI have a presence here, as they do in a lot of places, but we just have an explosion of cyber technology here. And our kids are actually trained around robotics and cybersecurity. So there's a lot of opportunity if you want your kids to have a very well-paid job right out of high school. This is a good place to be for that.
Do they have to be in the service for that? Or are you talking about like an auxiliary that the government would use XYZ company?
The cyber jobs here are plentiful, whether they have to serve or not serve. I mean, they're being trained at school to just be good at it.
That's fantastic. Now, when you were talking earlier about the military base itself, were you saying it's all branches that are there?
All branches. Primarily Army, but all branches are here.
That's incredible.
Yes, but it's all around in that way, it's all around cyber. It's all branches of the military, but it's their IT departments, basically.
I have a friend whose son is in the early stages of his career in the Navy, and I think he's leaning toward information technology or just communications broadly. Yes. And I'm sure it'll probably come up.
He may spend time here. And typically we see a lot of PCSing here. So I'm sure you know PCS terminology, but typically they will do a 2-year stint here, which is fascinating for investment opportunity. And because technically you are not supposed to buy an investment property on a VA loan. But if you are PCSing and you're buying a home, it's a wonderful thing to hold on to it after your time here. Because a lot of people choose to come back. They choose to come back for the schools. They choose to come back for the retirement. Georgia has a great retirement tax. A lot of people keep their houses here and rent them while they're gone.
And this is not just for like the master's situation that you were talking about.
Rentals. Yeah, long-term rentals.
And so when you were talking earlier about it had a name, Masters.
Masters Rentals.
There you go. Yeah. Explain a little bit to somebody that might be watching what that looks like if they have an investment that they would like to, like maybe they're doing a 1031 and they're like, well, let me go get something over there. How does that work?
So a 1031 exchange may not be beneficial for you if you're trying to get a master's rental. A master's rental is really if you're owner occupied and you want 2 weeks out of the year, the federal government has allowed you to rent your house out tax-free. And what that looks like is if you have a major sporting event or something huge that happens in your backyard and you want to rent, the money that you make those 2 weeks for the ANWA, which is the women's amateur, and then the masters for tournament housing, you get tax-free, and it's depending on where you are and what amenities are around you and how long it takes you to get down to the course, you could be making quite a lot of money as an extra incentive to your house. Enough to pay your mortgage.
If I live there, I would be renting out my entire house. I basically say, okay, family, we're going on vacation for 2 weeks. We move all of our stuff out, or we move.
You don't move your stuff out.
Okay. It's basically like an Airbnb situation at that point.
You are allowing your stuff to be used by the renters, but you greatly reduce anything personal in the home, and you put it away and you lock it in a storage space. So anything you don't want hurt by the renters, you would remove. But I will tell you that most people don't hurt your furniture. Like things that happen at a master's rental might be that your sink gets pulled off the wall or somebody breaks your toilet, which is something that has happened. There is insurance, you go through companies, hospitality companies at a certain level. People who are renting to corporations, which is where the really big money is, typically use a hospitality company. You can rent for yourself for Airbnb or VRBO, but a lot more work is going to be on you. And there is a lot of work on you, but the week of, the hospitality companies come in and they have servers and they have cooks and all the things.
That is next level cool. If you've got the wherewithal to do it, and I'm looking at all of the auxiliary businesses just with that one situation. If you've got a storage company that people want to put a bulk of their stuff in, if you've got you want to work in the hospitality industry with one of those companies that takes care of the home while you're gone, if you want to start a business that just says, hey, I'll do it for you, all you got to do is, my mind is blown with all of the opportunities that could be with that.
We need more caterers, we need more healthy caterers, we need all kinds of things. We need more prep kitchens. If you're someone who wants to make crazy money and you want very little responsibility, come and build a prep kitchen.
Versus a whole kitchen? Just a prep kitchen?
Well, food truck companies use prep kitchens. Actually, there's quite a few in California.
Okay.
Yeah, we only have 2 here. So,
holy crap.
And you rent them by the hour and you rent them for a lot of money. So if there's somebody out there that wants a good entrepreneurial job, has some fluidity to put some great money down immediately, they could do a space that has several prep kitchens in it and they would be making bank.
That's just mind blowing. Now, you mentioned earlier about Atlanta. So we were talking about the medical, the healthcare, and all of the fancy hospitals and stuff like that. But then you also, when we were off record, you mentioned that there's a very large artistic community in the Augusta area as well as Atlanta. Help me understand that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
It's growing. We have quite a few extremely good artists. Well, we have great musicians. The Augusta Symphony is incredible. They live at the Miller Theater. We do have the Columbia County Performing Arts Center gets Broadway shows, so we have Broadway here. But Atlanta has a thriving film industry, and so we have had films shot in Augusta. We want more, and that is a very big deal. I'm a huge proponent of film in Augusta and film in the CSRA. And if you have questions about that, you can call me because I have all the direct contacts.
Before we go any further, how do people find you? Where can we find you, Kimberly? Because you're on all the platforms, but how is it all just under Kimberly Lahodny? Tell me.
No, typically finding me, well, you can just Google my name for sure. I currently am at Summer House Realty, but my group is the Riverwatch Group at Summer House, and you can go to riverwatchgroup.com and you can see our website. Our property management and commercial parts of the website are being built right now, so don't get discouraged. That does not mean we don't do good business. We've just been remarketing and rebranding, and so we're really excited for a new website. But the residential side is exploding, and you can find us on social media at Riverwatch Group everywhere. So if you put us up in YouTube, you have to have the @ sign, but at Riverwatch Group, same with Instagram and Facebook. And there's lots of stuff on there all the time.
And we'll be able to reach out and contact you that way. We've talked on investment properties. We've talked on commercial real estate. We've talked on, lifestyle. I mean, there's a lot of answers that people should be getting to their questions, but more specific questions, they would definitely need to reach out to you.
If you're thinking about relocating, we started out as relocation specialists only, and now obviously we do everything, but we have an incredible relocation guide, a hotspots guide. I mean, anything you can think about asking us about moving here, we have something to give you. So please feel free to contact, because our resources are always free.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to show you something that I have with my brokerage, and it's called a move meter. And it's pretty cool in that it helps us figure out, what, if it's apples to apples, if it's apples to oranges. And so I just pulled up Bakersfield, because that's where I'm at, but also to Evans, because we spoke of Evans being, what did you say? It was the top, it was something in 2020. It was the top city to move to.
So Money Magazine named Evans, Georgia, the city to move to in 2020 for so many reasons.
That is amazing. Let's see, Evans right here. Evans right there. Oh, there we go. Doctors Hospital of Augusta, not very far. Okay, so back to this move meter. So it's talking about the difference in mileage between where I'm at and where Evans is. And it says it could be a smart move if job market, if you value job market strength. So that answers basically the same question that we've talked about, kind of getting more validation in that regard. Holy mackerel. So housing affordability, an overall move score is 81. I think 81 might be the highest number I've ever seen on this. I usually am in the high 70s, and 81 is awesome, Kimberly. Look at this.
Yeah.
Okay, so home prices, Bakersfield being on the left and Evans being on the right, pretty comparable. Property taxes are comparable. Home appreciation rate and the price per square foot. Yours is lower.
So that's really Evans proper. Once you get out onto the land a little bit, we're really at like 155 per square foot.
Okay.
But in town, 124 is about right.
So it's saying it's a little lower. Healthcare and education. So we've got education. This is Bakersfield on the left. Look at that. 73, 46, 67 weather grade. So whoa, this is because Bakersfield, we have really jacked up air quality. What is your air quality there on the average? Do you know?
I mean, I would say
your AQI?
I don't know what it would be. I know we have very high pollen counts. So if you're someone who suffers from seasonal allergies, we get terrible scores at different times for pollen. But overall, I think our air quality is quite nice.
All right. Look, culture and entertainment. Look at that. Your accessibility. All right. So Evans scores higher.
Is low good? Or in this situation, is low good or bad?
Well, it says Evans scores higher than Bakersfield on quality of life. So higher is better, because on the overall score is 81. So higher is going to be better. So your education is better.
I think our healthcare is excellent, but I think that our fitness could be better. We could do more.
That might go to the fried food.
Yes, sitting in a deer stand doesn't always qualify as, even though you're outdoors, doesn't mean you're actually exercising.
Your unemployment rate, look at that. Good night. Your job growth, you mentioned that. Look at that. You aren't kidding. Yeah, this is basically just saying how right you are, my dear.
It helps to be married to the Chamber of Commerce.
Well, that too. Scores higher than Bakersfield in job market strength. So this sounds like it would be a really great move for somebody that is here in my community that wants a fresh start a business, be a part of a really booming industry, a booming community. Utilities are about the same. Well, there you go. That's fantastic. I love playing in this little thing.
I like that a lot.
It's really cool, right? As I mentioned before, Bakersfield and Kern County specifically, we have like the highest population of veterans in our county in the entire state of California. And I think that is for several reasons: affordability, just the fact that we have a lot of people that get out of the service, then go into corrections, and Kern County has 5 to 7 prisons in our area. So it's an easy fit, right? Like it's just an easy transition from them when they get out of service to go into corrections. And so gun ownership is big, not only in California, but then also in my county. What's gun ownership like in the South? I think I know the answer, but go ahead.
Pro-gun, at least in Columbia County, pro-gun.
You guys CCW or you open carry? What is it there?
I believe we are open carry, though most people conceal just because it's intimidating to walk in with a holster on your hip, But I think I know of one person who does, but most people are concealed to carry. But I believe open carry is, at least in our county, legal. We are obviously a huge hunting area, so we have waterfowl, we have wild boar. So hog hunting is a thing here. When I first moved here, and having worked in entertainment, the gals in my neighborhood said, you need to do a movie or a show about people getting on their golf carts in the middle of the night with big headlamps to scare the wild boar. They have a drink of their choice, a gun of their choice,
an adult beverage,
their golf cart, and a headlamp. And they're out getting the wild boar, because wild boar actually are pretty dangerous. They're not friendly, and they do a lot of damage. So all the men in my neighborhood take it upon themselves to take care of it. We have armadillo. That's a surprise for most people.
Yeah, I thought they were just in Texas.
Yeah, no, we have armadillo, and they are destructive. Cute, but destructive. Maybe not cute for some people. We have coyote. We have fox. We have something called the gray fox. So it looks half red fox, half gray fox. It's really interesting. So the face is red like a typical fox, and the body has a pattern. So we have a lot of cool animals, obviously deer hunting and fishing. Fishing is huge.
Outdoor, checking it all. Checking it all out. Does hunting wild boar have a season, or is that just all the time?
I am sure it does, but I think it's open season all the time for wild boar because nobody wants them in their yard. A lot of people live around or on somebody else's private property, and the private property owners don't want wild boar on their property. So they give permission to shoot them. Please don't hold me to that, but I'm sure there's a season.
Sure.
I mean, I know there's waterfowl season and an open deer season. Things that are considered pests but also tasty, it's considered a pest, and we have a lot of them.
Does it get really cold where you are? It doesn't get, we get cold-ish. Like right now it's cold. It's in the 30s and 40s. It's January.
Yeah, we've had 2 or 3 days where it's hit 46. Everything else is around upper 50s and 60s.
Is that the average?
Yes, in the winter. And you can grow, I mentioned to you, I think off camera, you can grow your lettuce year round. Lettuce and kale and Swiss chard and all that stuff.
There you go. That's how you handle the gluten-free. And they could grow it there, and they could start their business and have it all just be
We need more farms. It'd be great if there'd be more farms here. You'd think that there would be. There's land. There's a lot of people with a lot of land. There's not a lot of farms.
You guys get hurricanes?
We do get hurricanes. They're not crazy, though. They're not as crazy as Florida or the coast. When you hear about a really big hurricane hitting Georgia, like we barely get it. We just get a lot of rain, and we get trees down, but we don't get like a full-blown hurricane. And we're not really in that area down the center of the country that is Tornado Alley. We hear about tornadoes, but they're very tiny. Crops are pretty safe here, but typically, just like Maryland, the bigger crops that thrived here were tobacco and corn. And we do have lilac fields. We have certain farms that are growing here. What we're known for is Georgia pines. So a lot of people here are in forestry, and that is what a lot of people own land for. If you are moving to the area and or job hunting, please reach out to us, because I can connect you with my husband, and there are unbelievable opportunities for staffing and businesses. So whether you're moving your business or you're still looking to find someplace to work, we can connect you with that.
That's fantastic, because that's exactly what people want. Is they're like, okay, I can buy a house, but then what am I going to do? And if I'm going to retire, if I'm going to have a side hustle, or if I'm going to actually relocate my whole family, and I've got kids I got to put in school, all of those questions can be answered by either you or you and your husband. So it's perfect.
A lot of it is an overview of what we just talked about, the major cities in the CSRA, the demographic that you're going to deal with when you're there, cost of living, where the hospitals are, what the nightlife looks like. We have another PDF called Hot Spots, and that gives you the good restaurants and entertainment. But it's a great just overview. We created it, so don't share it with another realtor. It's ours.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. I will put all of your information down below so people can reach you. And thank you for taking your time today. And I'm super excited for anybody that might be leaving California that I can help and that I can hand them off lovingly to you and your husband for job, house, business, community. Ta-da!
Yeah.
We've gone so long, but I mean, you just kept giving like gold after gold after gold nugget. So I didn't want to stop.
Well, it's a great place to live, and it has been a wonderful experience for our family. It has been a different way of living. There are times we miss California for sure, but there are other things that this area has given us that we didn't have there. So that's always something to consider.